The ground shook under Jake Murphy's boots as another explosion echoed across the broken landscape. Smoke rose from the twisted metal that used to be their ship, the USS Liberty. 3 days ago, it had been humanity's pride, a colony ship carrying 5,000 people to a new world. Now it was nothing but burning wreckage scattered across the alien planet. Jake wiped sweat from his forehead and checked his rifle. As a Marine sergeant, he had seen plenty of fights before, but nothing like this. The attack had come from nowhere. Strange ships with weapons that cut through their shields like paper. Most of the colonists were dead. The lucky ones died quickly. Sergeant Murphy called Amy Collins, the team's medic. She jogged up to him, her medical bag bouncing on her hip. "Any word from the other search teams?" Jake shook his head. "Radio's still dead, we're on our own." He looked at his small group. Besides Amy, there was Pete Anderson, his corporal, and 2 other Marines, Tony Rivera and Matt Johnson. Not much of an army, but they were all he had. The planet was strange. 2 suns hung in the purple sky, and the trees looked like giant crystals that hummed in the wind. The air was thick and warm, and it tasted like metal. Everything felt wrong here, like they didn't belong. "Movement ahead," Pete whispered, pointing toward a cluster of broken buildings about 100 yards away. The structures were made of some kind of white stone that seemed to glow softly. They definitely weren't human-made. Jake raised his hand, and his team stopped. Through his binoculars, he could see the buildings were damaged. Walls had collapsed, and strange symbols carved into the stone were cracked and faded. Whatever had attacked the human ship had hit this place too. "Looks empty," Jake said. "But stay sharp. We'll check for survivors and supplies." They moved carefully through the ruins. The buildings were beautiful even in their broken state. Curved, walls rose like flowing water, and doorways were shaped like teardrops. Everything was built for people much taller than humans, with long, graceful limbs. In the 3rd building they searched, Amy suddenly stopped. "I hear something," she whispered. They all listened. There it was, a soft, weak sound like someone trying to breathe. It was coming from under a pile of white stones that had fallen from the ceiling. "Help me move these," Jake ordered. They worked quickly but carefully, lifting the heavy stones one by one. As they cleared the debris, a soft blue light began to show through the gaps. Jake's heart pounded. Was it some kind of weapon? When they moved the last stone, Jake forgot to breathe. Lying in the rubble was a small figure with skin that glowed like starlight. It was clearly not human, but it was also clearly just a child. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old if she were human. Her skin was pale blue and covered with patterns that flickered like dying flames. She had long silver hair that seemed to move on its own, and her face was delicate and beautiful in a way that made Jake think of angels. But her large, dark eyes were closing, and the light under her skin was getting dimmer. "She's dying," Amy said, kneeling beside the alien child. She pulled out her medical scanner and ran it over the small body. Massive blood loss, internal injuries, and her vital signs are barely there. The alien girl's eyes fluttered open for a moment. They were the deepest black Jake had ever seen, like looking into space itself. She looked at him and tried to say something, but only a whisper of air came out. "Can you save her?" Jake asked. Amy bit her lip. "Maybe. Her biology is similar to ours, more than it should be. But I don't have the right equipment for a full transfusion. I'd need a direct blood transfer, and even then..." She shook her head. "It's too dangerous. We don't know if human blood is compatible with her system." Pete stepped forward. "Sergeant, we need to go. Those things that attacked our ship could come back. We can't risk the team for one alien kid." Jake looked down at the dying child. Her breathing was getting weaker, and the patterns on her skin were fading to gray. In a few minutes, she would be dead. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth, about how he would feel if she were lying here dying while aliens walked away. "Amy, prep for a direct transfusion," Jake said, rolling up his sleeve. "Sergeant, no." Pete grabbed his arm. "We don't know what this could do to you. What if her blood is poisonous? What if those aliens are our enemies?" Jake pulled his arm free. Look at her, Pete. She's just a kid. And someone attacked her people just like they attacked us. Maybe we have the same enemies. Amy looked worried. Jake, I have to warn you. A direct blood transfer like this, there could be side effects we can't predict. You could get sick or worse. Jake knelt beside the alien girl and took her small hand in his. Her skin was cold and smooth, like touching moonlight. Do it, Amy. We can't just let her die. Amy sighed, but pulled out her equipment. She inserted a needle into Jake's arm and another into the child's. This is going to take a while. Are you sure about this? Jake nodded. He watched as his red blood flowed through the clear tube toward the alien girl. For a moment, nothing happened. Then something impossible began. The girl's skin started to glow brighter. The patterns that had been gray began to pulse with soft, blue light again. But more than that, Jake felt something strange happening to himself. Warmth spread through his body, and he could swear he felt the alien child's heartbeat matching his own. The light under her skin grew stronger, but now there was something else. Threads of golden light that hadn't been there before. The gold seemed to flow along with Jake's blood, spreading through her small body like veins of fire. This isn't normal, Amy whispered, watching her instruments with wide eyes. Your blood pressure is dropping, but her life signs are getting stronger. It's like your blood is healing her faster than should be possible. Jake felt dizzy, but he didn't stop the transfusion. The alien girl's eyes opened again, and this time they stayed open. She looked at him with wonder, and Jake could swear he saw flecks of gold in those dark eyes that matched the light now flowing under her skin. She spoke in a voice like music, words he couldn't understand but somehow felt in his heart. Then she reached up with a tiny hand and touched his face. The moment her skin met his, Jake's world exploded into light and sensation. He saw flashes of images that weren't his memories, cities of crystal and light, ships that sailed between the stars, creatures of terrible darkness chasing peaceful people across the galaxy, and through it all a sense of connection, like finding a part of himself he never knew was missing. The last thing Jake remembered before darkness took him was the alien child sitting up, fully healed, with golden tears streaming down her glowing cheeks as she whispered something that sounded like thank you in perfect English. Jake woke up to the sound of machines beeping and the smell of antiseptic. His head felt like someone had filled it with cotton, and every muscle in his body ached. He tried to sit up, but gentle hands pushed him back down. Easy there, hero, Amy's voice said from somewhere above him. You've been out for 3 days. As his vision cleared, Jake saw he was lying on a cot in what looked like the ship's medical bay. The room was small and cramped, with medical equipment jury-rigged from salvaged parts. Through a small window, he could see other survivors moving around what remained of their camp. The girl, Jake said, his voice rough. Is she? She's fine, Amy replied with a smile. More than fine, actually. Take a look. Amy stepped aside, and Jake saw the alien child sitting in a chair beside his bed. She looked completely different from the dying creature he had found under the rubble. Her blue skin glowed with soft, healthy light, and the patterns that covered her arms and face pulsed gently like a slow heartbeat. But her eyes were what caught his attention. They were still deep black, but now they held flecks of gold that seemed to dance like tiny stars. Hello, Jake, the child said in perfect English. I have been waiting for you to wake up. Jake stared at her. You can speak English now? She nodded. I understand everything you say, everything you think sometimes. The connection we share, it teaches me. She tilted her head like a curious bird. Do you not feel it too? Jake did feel something. It was like having a warm presence at the edge of his mind, gentle but definitely there. When he looked at the child, he could sense emotions that weren't his own, gratitude, curiosity, and something that felt like joy. What's your name? Jake asked. My people called me Zaraka Luna, which means Lightbringer of the Moon. But Luna is easier for human tongues, she said with a small smile. Amy pulled up a chair. Jake, we need to talk about what happened to you. Your blood work is unusual. Your immune system has changed, your brain activity is different, and you're healing faster than any human should. Before Jake could respond, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Captain Steve Rogers entered the medical bay, his face serious. Steve was a big man with gray hair and scars from old battles. He had been the Liberty's security chief before the crash, and now he led the survivors. "Sergeant Murphy," Steve said formally. "Glad you're awake. We need to discuss the situation." Luna shrank back in her chair, her glow dimming slightly. Jake felt her fear like a cold touch in his mind. "It's okay," Jake told her softly. "He's one of the good guys." To his surprise, Luna relaxed immediately, as if his calm feeling had flowed into her. Steve noticed the exchange and frowned. "That's part of what we need to talk about. This connection you two seem to have developed. It's not natural." "Nothing about our situation is natural," Jake replied. "What have you learned about what attacked us?" Steve's expression grew darker. "Luna here has been very helpful with that. Tell him, child." Luna looked at Jake, and he felt her sadness like a weight in his chest. "The ships that attacked you were Chronari vessels, the same ones that destroyed my world and killed my family." "Your family?" Jake asked gently. "My mother was Vera Nightsong, High Counselor of the Zephyrian Coalition," Luna said, her voice small. "She sent me away when the Chronari found our hiding place. I was supposed to reach the safe worlds, but my ship crashed here." Steve leaned forward. "The Chronari Empire has been hunting the Zephyrians across the galaxy. They harvest their bioluminescent organs to power their technology. Luna's people have been running for generations." Jake felt sick. "They're just using them as fuel. The Chronari see us as cattle," Luna said matter-of-factly. "But something has changed now. Something about what you did for me has made me different." Amy pulled out her tablet and showed Jake some readings. "Her cellular structure has been altered. Your blood didn't just heal her. It awakened something in her DNA. Dormant genes that her species hasn't expressed in thousands of years." "What kind of genes?" Jake asked. Luna stood up and walked to a metal tray on the counter. She placed her small hands on it and concentrated. Jake watched in amazement as the metal began to glow and reshape itself, flowing like liquid into a perfect sphere. "My ancestors could manipulate matter and energy," Luna explained, setting down the metal sphere. "They used these abilities to build cities and travel between stars, but the power was lost over time until the Zephyrians became just normal people who glowed in the dark." Jake stared at the metal sphere. "And now you can do this because of my blood?" "Because of our connection," Luna corrected. "When I use my abilities, you feel it too, don't you?" Jake realized she was right. When Luna had reshaped the metal, he had felt a strange tingling in his hands, like he was doing it himself. "There's more," Amy said. "Jake, your reflexes and perception have improved dramatically. You can see energy patterns that normal humans can't detect. And when Luna uses her abilities, your body shows the same energy readings." Captain Rogers stood up. "This is why we need to talk about the bigger picture. We've made contact with Luna's people. There's a Zephyrian fleet hiding in the outer system, afraid to come closer because of Chronari patrols." "My mother?" Luna asked. "Hopefully. She's alive and she's desperate to get you back," Steve said. "But there's a problem. Luna's new abilities are creating an energy signature that the Chronari can track across star systems. As long as she has these powers, she's a beacon that will lead our enemies right to us." Jake felt Luna's distress hit him like a wave. Without thinking, he reached out and took her hand. The moment their skin touched, both of them began to glow, softly. Jake with a gentle golden light, Luna with her usual blue radiance mixed with threads of gold. "We're connected," Jake realized. "Whatever this is, we're in it together." Amy looked at her instruments in amazement. "Your brainwaves are synchronizing. Your heartbeats are matching. It's like you're becoming two parts of the same person." "The old stories spoke of this," Luna said quietly. "The bonding of stars when two souls from different worlds would join together to bring about a new age. But those were just legends." Captain Rogers looked troubled. "Legends or not, we have a real problem. Long-range sensors picked up Chronari. Ships heading this way, they'll be here within hours. Jake stood up, surprised at how strong he felt. Then we need to get everyone to safety. Where? Steve asked. Luna's energy signature can be detected from orbit. No matter where we hide on this planet, they'll find us. Luna squeezed Jake's hand tighter. There might be a way, but it would be dangerous for both of us. What way? Jake asked. I can try to mask our signal by going deeper underground, into the old cavern systems. But if the Chronari find us there, we'll be trapped, and using my powers underground might cause cave-ins. Through their connection, Jake felt Luna's fear, but also her determination. She was willing to risk her life to save the human survivors, just as he had risked his to save her. Then that's what we'll do, Jake said. We stick together and we keep everyone safe. Captain Rogers shook his head. Murphy, you don't understand. If you two are captured, the Chronari will study this connection of yours. They might learn to duplicate it, to create their own bonded pairs. The advantage would be lost forever. Jake looked at Luna, whose gold-flecked eyes met his with perfect understanding. In her mind, he felt the same thought he was having. They couldn't let fear stop them from doing what was right. Captain, Jake said, with respect, we didn't ask for this connection, but now that we have it, we're going to use it to protect people. That's what humans do. That's what makes us who we are. Luna smiled, and Jake felt her joy like sunshine in his heart. And that, she said softly, is why the old stories said the bonding of stars would save us all. Outside, the sound of approaching engines filled the air. The Chronari had arrived. The underground caves were dark and cold, filled with the sound of dripping water and frightened whispers. Jake led the group of survivors deeper into the tunnel system, his rifle ready. Behind him, 200 men, women, and children followed. In a long, quiet line, Luna walked beside him, her skin providing the only light they had. The patterns on her arms pulsed slowly, casting blue and gold shadows on the cave walls. Through their connection, Jake could feel her concentration as she tried to keep her energy signature as small as possible. How much further? Whispered Lisa Martinez, the communications officer. She was helping an elderly man who had been injured in the crash. The caves go deep, Luna replied softly. My people used them as shelters long ago before the Chronari came to this world. Jake stopped and held up his hand. Everyone froze. Through the stone above them, he could hear the distant sound of engines and weapons fire. The Chronari were bombing the surface, looking for survivors. They're getting closer, Amy said, checking her medical supplies. Many of the survivors were hurt or sick, and she was running out of medicine. Captain Rogers moved up to Jake's position. The children are getting scared. Some of the adults are talking about surrendering. No, Jake said firmly. We've seen what the Chronari do to prisoners. We keep moving. They walked deeper into the caves, following tunnels that seemed to have been carved by water over thousands of years. The walls were smooth and curved, and strange crystals grew from the ceiling like frozen tears. Luna touched one of the crystals as they passed, and it began to glow softly. These caves are alive, she said with wonder. The crystals respond to Zephyrian energy. As they walked, Jake noticed something strange happening to himself. His vision was getting better in the darkness. He could see heat patterns from the people around him, and he could sense the layout of the caves ahead like he had a map in his mind. Luna, he said quietly, I think your abilities are affecting me more than we realized. She looked at him with concern. Are you okay? I can feel your confusion. Before Jake could answer, a loud explosion echoed through the caves. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling and several people screamed. They're blasting their way down, Captain Rogers said grimly. They must have found the cave entrance. Jake looked back at the frightened faces of the survivors. Children were crying, and adults were holding each other in fear. They had nowhere left to run. Luna, he said, can you seal the tunnel behind us? She bit her lip. I can try, but it might cause the whole section to collapse. We could get trapped down here forever. Do it, Jake ordered. We'll find another way out. Luna placed her hands on the cave wall and closed her eyes. Jake felt power flow through their connection, not just Luna's energy, but something that seemed to come from both of them together. The rock began to glow and shift, flowing like thick liquid to seal the tunnel, but the effort was too much. Luna swayed and nearly fell. Jake caught her and immediately felt her exhaustion as if it were his own. "I can't do much more," she whispered. "The power takes too much from both of us." More explosions echoed above them, getting closer. Jake could hear voices now, harsh alien sounds that made his skin crawl. The Chronari had entered the cave system. "This way," Luna said, pointing to a narrow passage. "There's a large chamber ahead where we can rest." They squeezed through the passage and emerged into a huge underground cavern. Ancient Zephyrian carvings covered the walls, and more of the glowing crystals hung from the ceiling like stars. In the center of the chamber was a pool of clear, still water. "It's beautiful," Amy said, looking around in amazement. "It's a sacred place," Luna explained. "My people came here to meditate and connect with the energy of the planet." Jake walked to the edge of the water and knelt down. His reflection looked back at him, but something was different. His eyes held tiny flecks of gold, just like Luna's had flecks in her black eyes. "The connection is getting stronger," he realized. Luna came to stand beside him. "Jake, I need to tell you something about what my abilities really mean. It's not just matter manipulation or energy control." "What else?" She looked at the group of tired, frightened survivors. "I can share the gift. Through our connection, I can give other humans some of my abilities. But it would change them. Like it changed you." Jake stared at her. "You mean you can make other people like us?" "Not exactly like us. The bond between you and me is special, but I can give them enhanced strength, better healing, and the ability to see energy patterns like you do now." Captain Rogers had been listening. "What's the catch?" Luna's expression grew serious. "Once the gift is given, it can't be taken back. Those people would be connected to me forever, and through me to Jake. We would all be part of the same network." "Like a hive mind?" Lisa asked nervously. "No," Luna said quickly. "Everyone would keep their own thoughts and feelings, but we would be able to sense each other, help each other, and share strength when needed." Jake thought about it. Enhanced humans who could work together perfectly, who could share Luna's abilities and his tactical knowledge. It could be the edge they needed to survive. But before he could speak, the sound of marching feet echoed from the tunnel they had sealed. The Chronari had broken through. "They're coming," Amy said, gripping her medical bag like a weapon. Jake looked around the cavern. There was nowhere left to run. 200 innocent people were trapped in a hole in the ground, waiting to be slaughtered or enslaved by alien monsters. "Luna," he said quietly, "how many people can you give the gift to?" "I don't know. Maybe 20 or 30 before it becomes too dangerous for all of us." Jake nodded and turned to face the survivors. "I need volunteers. Adults only, and only people who understand what they're getting into. Luna can give you enhanced abilities to help fight our way out of here, but it will change you permanently." Captain Rogers stepped forward first. "I'm in." Amy was next. "Someone needs to keep you two alive." Lisa Martinez raised her hand. "I've got nothing to lose." One by one, more people volunteered. Pete Anderson, despite his earlier doubts about Luna. Tony Rivera and Matt Johnson, Jake's fellow Marines. Dr. Frank Wilson, the ship's engineer. Sarah Kim, a security officer. In the end, 25 people stood ready to accept Luna's gift. The sound of Chronari voices was getting louder. They would be here in minutes. "Everyone hold hands," Luna instructed, standing in the center of the group. "Form a circle around Jake and me." As the volunteers joined hands, Luna placed one hand on Jake's chest and raised the other toward the ceiling. Her glow intensified, and Jake felt power building between them like a gathering storm. "This might hurt," Luna warned. She released the energy all at once. Golden light flowed from her through Jake and into every person in the circle. Jake felt their surprise and fear as the gift took hold, changing their bodies and minds in ways they had never imagined. Captain Rogers gasped, as his graying hair turned dark again and his old battle scars began to fade. Amy's vision sharpened until she could see individual dust particles floating in the air. Pete Anderson felt strength flow into his muscles like liquid fire. But more than the physical changes, they could all feel the connection forming between them. Not thoughts or memories, but emotions and intentions. They knew without words that they would protect each other, fight together, and never abandon one of their own. Jake felt their combined strength flowing back into him, and he realized what had really happened. They weren't just enhanced humans anymore. They were something new, something that could stand against the Chronari and win. The first alien soldiers appeared at the far end of the cavern. They were tall and thin, wearing black armor that seemed to absorb light. Their faces were hidden behind helmets that looked like insect heads, and they carried weapons that glowed with deadly energy. "Surrender now," one of them said in broken English, "and your deaths will be quick." Jake stepped forward, feeling the power of 25 connected minds backing him up. Luna's hand found his, and together they began to glow with brilliant, "Golden light, counteroffer," Jake said calmly. "You leave now and we might let you live." The Chronari soldier laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Foolish humans. You cannot fight the Empire." Jake smiled, feeling Luna's joy mixing with his own determination. Around them, their enhanced allies prepared for battle, moving with perfect coordination even though they had never trained together. "You're right," Jake said. "Humans can't fight your Empire." The golden light around him and Luna flared brighter. "But we're not just human anymore." 5 years had passed since the day Jake Murphy gave his blood to save a dying alien child. Now he stood on the observation deck of New Haven Station, watching ships from 3 different species work together to build humanity's first interstellar city. The station was beautiful in a way that no single species could have created alone. Human engineering provided the strong bones and practical systems. Zephyrian artistry shaped flowing curves and gardens that glowed with bioluminescent plants. Chronari technology powered it all with clean energy that would never run out. "The morning transport from Earth just docked," Luna said, joining him at the viewing window. She was 23 now, no longer the small child he had saved in the cave. But her eyes still held those flecks of gold that marked their connection, and when she smiled, Jake still felt her joy as if it were his own. "How many this time?" Jake asked. 300 families, Luna replied. "All volunteers. The enhanced ones want to bring their children to see the new worlds we're exploring. The unenhanced ones want to join the integration program." Jake nodded. The integration program was Luna's latest project, a way for normal humans to slowly develop enhanced abilities over several months, instead of all at once. It was safer and less frightening than the emergency enhancement they had done in the caves, and it let people choose their own pace of change. "Any word from the exploration teams?" Luna's eyes unfocused for a moment as she reached out through the network that connected all enhanced humans. Even after 5 years, Jake was still amazed by how far their abilities had grown. Luna could now communicate instantly with any enhanced human within a dozen star systems. Team 7 found another habitable world in the Centauri cluster, she reported. "No intelligent life, but perfect for colonization." Team 12 made contact with a new species called the Melodians. "They communicate through music and want to join our alliance." Jake smiled. The alliance had grown beyond anything they had imagined. What started with humans, Zephyrians, and Chronari had expanded to include 17 different species. Some were refugees like the Zephyrians, fleeing from various threats. Others were explorers and builders who wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. And the Chronari worlds? Commander Vex sent his daily report. "The restoration of Chronax Prime is ahead of schedule. The bioenergy generators are working perfectly, and they've started growing food again for the first time in 3 centuries. Jake remembered the first time they had visited the Chronari homeworld. It had been a dead rock, poisoned by centuries of desperate survival. But with Zephyrian healing technology and human determination, they were bringing it back to life. The foe. Grateful Chronari had become some of their strongest allies. "Captain Murphy," called a familiar voice. Jake turned to see Amy Collins approaching. She wore the blue uniform of the Alliance Medical Corps, and her hair was starting to show gray despite her enhanced healing abilities. "Dr. Collins," Jake replied formally, then grinned. "Amy, you know you don't have to be so formal when we're off duty," she laughed. "Old habits. I have the reports you wanted on the new enhanced children." Jake took the data tablet she offered. The children born to enhanced parents were remarkable. They developed their abilities naturally from birth, and they seemed to form connections not just with other humans but with alien children as well. A Zephyrian child and a human child could communicate perfectly without words. Chronari youngsters played games with enhanced human kids that would have been impossible for their parents to understand. "They're already better at this than we are," Jake observed, reading the reports. "More natural with the connections, more comfortable working across species lines." "It makes sense," Luna said. "They've never known a world where humans, Zephyrians, and Chronari were enemies. To them, cooperation is normal." Amy pointed to a section of the report. "Look at this. The children are developing new abilities we've never seen before. Some can heal not just physical injuries but emotional trauma. Others can sense the health of entire ecosystems and help restore damaged environments." Jake whistled softly. "Evolution in action." "More than that," Luna said, her expression thoughtful. "I think they're becoming what the galaxy needs them to be, healers and builders and peacemakers." Before Jake could respond, his communication badge chimed. "Captain Murphy, please report to the council chambers," came the voice of Lisa Martinez, now the station's chief administrator. When Jake and Luna arrived at the council chambers, they found representatives from all 17 member species gathered around the circular table that had become the symbol of their alliance. At the head of the table sat High Counselor Vera Nightsong, Luna's mother, who had become the elected leader of the alliance. Vera looked exactly like Luna would in a few decades, tall and elegant, with silver hair that moved like liquid starlight. Her skin held the same blue glow, but her patterns were more complex, marking her age and wisdom. "Jake, Luna," Vera said warmly, "thank you for coming. We have important news to discuss." Commander Vex Cthulhu, now wearing the white robes of a Chronari peace ambassador, leaned forward. "Our long-range sensors have detected something troubling. A massive fleet moving through the outer rim, destroying everything in its path." "The four devourers," whispered Elder Thrum, the representative of the insectoid Kittic species. "The legends speak of them, a machine intelligence that consumes entire worlds to fuel its expansion." Jake felt Luna's concern through their connection. They had faced many challenges in building their alliance, but nothing like this. "How long before they reach our space?" Jake asked. "At their current speed, perhaps 2 years," Vera replied. "But that's not what concerns us most. Show them the analysis, Vex." The Chronari commander activated a holographic display that filled the center of the table. It showed the approaching fleet, thousands of massive ships that looked more like metal storms than vessels. "The Devourers adapt to whatever they face," Vex explained. "They learn from each battle and become stronger. No single species has ever been able to stop them for long." "But we're not a single species anymore," Luna pointed out. "Exactly," Vera said with a slight smile. "Which brings us to why we called you here. The council has voted to offer you a choice, Jake." Jake raised an eyebrow. "What kind of choice?" Vera stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the bustling station. "The Alliance needs a leader who can unite not just the 17 species we already have, but the hundreds of worlds that will need to work together to stop the Devourers. Someone who understands both human and alien thinking. Someone who has proven they will sacrifice everything to protect others." "You want me to take command of the Alliance fleet," Jake realized. "More than that," Luna said softly. "They want you to become something new. A bridge between species that can help coordinate the defense of the entire galaxy." Jake looked around, the table at the faces of beings from a dozen different worlds. Some had scales, others had fur or feathers or skin like polished metal. But in all their eyes, he saw the same thing: hope. What would that mean exactly? Vera returned to her. "See, Using the ancient Zephyrian bonding technology, we can link you not just to Luna and the enhanced humans, but to representatives from every species in the Alliance. You would become the central node in a network spanning hundreds of worlds. The risks are significant, admitted Dr. Zenth, a crystalline being from the Silicate Collective. No organic mind has ever attempted to maintain that many connections simultaneously. Jake felt Luna's hand slip into his, and through their bond, he sensed her willingness to share whatever burden he chose to take on. "If I do this," Jake said, slowly, "what happens to us? To our connection?" "It would become something greater," Luna replied. "Instead of just two minds linked together, we would be the heart of something that could unite entire civilizations." Jake thought about the child he had been before all this started, a simple Marine who thought the biggest problem in the universe was human conflict. Now he was being asked to help coordinate the defense of an entire galaxy. But as he looked around the table, he realized that this was what he had always been meant to do. Every choice that led him here, from giving his blood to save Luna to accepting the enhancement that changed his species forever, had been preparing him for this moment. "All right," Jake said finally. "Let's do it." The bonding ceremony took place, in the same chamber where Jake had first been enhanced, now converted into a temple that served all species. Representatives from every allied world stood in concentric circles around Jake and Luna, their hands linked in an unbroken chain of connection. When Luna released the bonding energy, Jake felt his consciousness expand beyond anything he had ever imagined. Suddenly he was aware not just of the humans in the network, but of Zephyrian artists creating beauty among the stars, Chronari engineers rebuilding worlds, Melodian composers writing songs that could heal broken hearts. He felt the fears and hopes of billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. He sensed the approaching darkness of the Devourers, but also the growing light of unity and cooperation that was spreading through the galaxy faster than any fleet could travel. "How do you feel?" Luna asked, her voice reaching him through the vast network of connected minds. Jake opened his eyes and saw that he was glowing now with light that contained every color he had ever. The battle in the cave was unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. As soon as the fighting started, he felt the minds of his enhanced team members linking with his own. Not their thoughts, but their instincts and reflexes. When Pete Anderson moved to cover the left flank, Jake knew it before Pete even started moving. When Amy ducked to avoid enemy fire, Jake felt her motion and adjusted his own position automatically. The Chronari soldiers were fast and deadly, but they were not prepared for enemies who fought as one mind in many bodies. Lisa Martinez used her new abilities to predict where the aliens would move next, while Tony Rivera and Matt Johnson attacked from positions the enemy couldn't see coming. Luna stood in the center of it all, her hands raised and her whole body blazing with blue and gold light. With each gesture, she reshaped the cavern itself. Stone walls flowed into barriers that protected the enhanced humans. Crystal formations grew from the floor to trap Chronari soldiers. The underground pool rose into the air and became a weapon, crashing down on their enemies like a waterfall. But Jake could feel the strain it put on her. Every time Luna used her powers, it drained energy from both of them. He was getting tired, and through their connection, he knew she was close to exhaustion. "There are too many of them," Captain Rogers said, firing his rifle at a group of Chronari, trying to flank their position. His enhanced reflexes let him hit targets that would have been impossible shots before, but more enemies kept coming. Jake counted at least 50 alien soldiers in the cavern now, with more pouring in from the tunnels. His team of 25 enhanced humans was holding them back, but it couldn't last forever. "Luna," he said, "is there another way out of here?" She closed her eyes for a moment, reaching out with her senses. "Yes, but it leads deeper underground, into the old temple complex. What's down there?" "I don't know. My people abandoned those places before I was born. The elders said they were dangerous." A Chronari energy bolt sizzled past Jake's head, and he decided that dangerous was better than dead. "Everyone fall back. We're going deeper." The enhanced humans moved as one, covering each other's retreat while Luna sealed passages behind them. They ran through ancient corridors carved with symbols that hurt to look at, past rooms filled with strange machinery that still hummed with power after thousands of years. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the temple complex. The room was perfectly circular, with a domed ceiling covered in star maps of worlds Jake had never seen. In the center stood a pillar of black stone covered in writing that seemed to move and shift when he looked at it. "What is this place?" Amy asked, her voice echoing in the vast space. Luna walked slowly toward the pillar, her glow reflecting off the polished stone. "It's a memory keeper, a record of my people's history and prophecies." She placed her hand on the stone and it began to pulse with soft light. Images appeared in the air around them, holographic scenes from the past. They saw the Zephyrian people in their golden age, building cities among the stars and traveling between worlds with the power of their minds. They saw the coming of the Chronari, the long war, and the slow retreat across the galaxy. But then the images changed, showing things that had not yet happened. Jake saw himself and Luna standing together on a world he didn't recognize, surrounded by humans and Zephyrians working side by side. He saw great ships leaving Earth, not as refugees but as explorers and protectors. "The bonding of stars," Luna whispered, reading the ancient text. "When the child of two worlds joins with the warrior from beyond the void, the long night shall end and the galaxy shall know peace again." "That's us," Jake realized. "The prophecy is about us." Luna nodded, but her expression was troubled. "There's more. The gift I gave to your people, it's not just enhancement, it's evolution. Every human I've connected to will pass the abilities on to their children. In a few generations, all of humanity will be like you are now." Amy looked amazed. "Enhanced strength, better healing, the ability to work together perfectly. Luna, you've just changed our entire species." "But why?" Captain Rogers asked. "Why give us this gift?" Luna turned away from the pillar and Jake saw tears on her glowing cheeks. "Because my people are dying. The Chronari have hunted us for so long that there are only a few thousand Zephyrians left in the entire galaxy. We need allies if we're going to survive." "So you're creating those allies," Jake understood. "Making humanity into something that can fight alongside your people. Not just fight," Luna said softly. "Something better." She gestured to another set of images floating in the air. These showed the enhanced humans doing impossible things, healing diseases with a touch, growing food in poisoned soil, even bringing life to dead worlds. "The connection between us doesn't just share my abilities," she explained. "It shares human qualities too. Your courage, your compassion, your refusal to give up even when everything seems hopeless. Mixed with Zephyrian powers, those traits become something incredible." Jake stared at the images. "You're not just trying to save your people, you're trying to save everyone." "The Chronari aren't evil," Luna said. "They're desperate. Their world was dying. And they thought the only way to survive was to take what they needed from others. But what if there was another way?" She showed them more images from the prophecy. Chronari and humans working together. Zephyrian healing powers used to restore the Chronari homeworld. Ships carrying all three species to new galaxies where everyone could live in peace. "That's the delightful reward," Luna said with a smile that lit up the whole chamber. "Not just survival, but the chance to become something better than any of us could be alone." Before anyone could respond, the sound of marching feet echoed from the tunnels. The Chronari had found them again. But this time Jake wasn't worried. He looked around at his enhanced team and felt their determination flowing through the connection. They had seen the prophecy now. They knew what they were fighting for. "Luna," he said, "how much of your power can you share through me?" "All of it if necessary. But Jake, that much energy could kill you." Jake took her hand and felt the familiar warmth of their connection. Around them, the other enhanced humans joined hands, forming a circle of linked minds and shared strength. "Then it's a good thing I'm not doing this alone," he said. The first Chronari soldiers appeared at the chamber entrance. But instead of attacking immediately, they stopped and stared. Their leader, a tall figure in ornate black armor, stepped forward and removed his helmet. Jake had never seen a Chronari face before. The alien looked almost human, but stretched and angular, with pale gray skin and eyes like pieces of ice. When he spoke, his voice was filled with exhaustion and old pain. "Enough," the Chronari commander said. "We have tracked the energy signature to its source. Surrender the Zephyrian child and we will allow the humans to live." "No deal," Jake replied, calmly, the commander's cold eyes fixed on him. "You do not understand, human. We are not monsters. We take what we must to survive, nothing more. Give us the child, and this war ends." Jake felt Luna's fear through their connection, but also her trust in him. She knew he would never abandon her, just as he knew she would die before letting the Chronari hurt his people. "I've got a better idea," Jake said. "What if we could give you what you need without taking it from anyone?" The Chronari commander laughed bitterly. "Impossible. Our world is dead. Our people are dying. Only Zephyrian bioenergy can power our life support systems." Jake squeezed Luna's hand and felt power begin to flow between them. Golden light spread through the circle of enhanced humans, growing brighter and stronger. "Watch and learn," Jake said. He and Luna raised their joined hands and the power they had been building released all at once. But instead of using it as a weapon, they shaped it into something else entirely. The golden energy flowed out of them, and into the ancient machinery that filled the temple chamber. The Zephyrian technology responded instantly. Machines that had been silent for thousands of years began to hum with life. The star maps on the ceiling blazed with light, showing not just the locations of distant worlds but their resources and potential. And at the center of it all, the memory pillar began to project new images. Detailed schematics for technology that could create bioenergy without harvesting it from living beings. Plans for terraforming equipment that could restore dead worlds. Designs for ships that could carry entire civilizations to new homes among the stars. The Chronari commander stared at the projections in shock. How is this possible? "It's what happens when different species work together instead of fighting each other," Jake said. "Luna's people had this knowledge all along, but they needed the right catalyst to unlock it. And we're that catalyst," Amy added, understanding filling her voice. "Human determination combined with Zephyrian wisdom." Luna stepped forward, still, glowing with residual power. "We can teach you to build these machines. We can help you restore your world, but you have to stop hunting my people." The Chronari commander looked at his soldiers, then back at the incredible technology being displayed around them. For the first time, Jake saw hope in those cold, alien eyes. "If this is real," the commander said slowly, "if this knowledge truly exists, then the Empire would have no need to harvest bioenergy from living beings." "It's real," Jake said, "but it only works if we all work.